Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. On today's episode, we have Nikki from Southeast Oklahoma, and she had a very close Bigfoot encounter and some other strange experiences that were taking place on the property. I've been putting out a lot of content lately, and it just seems like a lot of people aren't listening to the channel anymore, and that's okay. I guess there's a lot of other Bigfoot channels out there, and I just hope everyone found one that they really enjoy watching. But I really hope that the people who used to support the channel come back one day, and I guess it just gets overwhelming since I'm putting out more content, but I do hope to hear more Bigfoot encounters from the people. So if you're listening and you've had a Class A Bigfoot encounter, please contact me sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. You guys can also help support the channel by purchasing some merchandise on my Spread Shop website. And if you guys can, leave a special thanks for the channel, and it really helps support the research and everything that I do. But yeah, guys, let's dive straight into Nikki's Bigfoot encounters from Southeast Oklahoma, and we'll get right into it. All right, Nikki, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I am doing all right.
Good to hear. And you are from Southeast Oklahoma, is that correct?
Well, yes, I haven't lived here I guess I've been here about 8 years in Southeast Oklahoma.
Okay. If you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from,
Um,
and or the area where everything happened, and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
all right. Um, I grew up in Southwest Oklahoma, and I guess I was a pretty normal kid as far as interest in weird things, but I never really believed in, you know, Bigfoot, I guess you could say. And it's odd because around the time that I was getting ready to relocate to the other side of the state, one of my friend's cousins had posted a picture that they had snapped not far from where I lived over there. And I guess it's around the Chickasha Lake area. And I thought, wow, that is a really amazing picture of a Bigfoot. It looks really, really convincing. So, I mean, that's when I started thinking maybe there was something to it. Um, and then when we moved over here, I really liked the area. It's in a forest, there's a lot of trees, mountains, it's beautiful. And I'm more of a country girl. I don't like it in the city at all. So I was really happy to move out here. Um, in August of 2016, we moved into a wooded property in southeast Oklahoma around the national forest and around a state park and wildlife management area. So, I mean, we're just surrounded by trees and wildlife. And it was really a beautiful property. We checked it out, talked to the owners, no strange things to report, didn't have any weird feelings about the property. Had noticed there was signs that we had wild hogs on the property around the ponds. Not really a big deal because I mean we have a lot of that where I was from, so it didn't seem like an off-putting thing. Um, when we moved in, uh, it was the very first night that things started happening, and I had been on the road all day. We were exhausted. I had my son and my dad with me. So when we came in, everybody just kind of got ready for bed. And my dad, he slept downstairs on a hammock. I was upstairs with my son on an air mattress. And I'm not sure what time it was. It was dark, but the moon was still visible. We didn't have any curtains up. I mean, we had just started moving things in, and I just I had just moved out of town, so I was sitting there with my phone on, and I was like, I don't like this screen being on, and these windows are uncovered. People can see in here, and I'm in the middle of the woods. So I thought that was kind of funny to think about, but I didn't feel comfortable with it and made sure I got my phone screen turned off and was laying there. A little while after that, we heard what I thought sounded like weird birds. So there were three very distinct voices that called off, and I couldn't even tell you what kind of bird it sounded like. I just remember thinking, wow, that is a weird bird. What kind of bird is out at this hour? And the thing about the voices is there were two feminine sounding voices and one very masculine voice. I don't think birds have that. But at the time, it didn't really dawn on me that kind of strange. Um, so we laid there a while and I heard noises, like the thrashing through the trees. And all I could think of in my head is like a herd of elephants was coming through the trees. And I'm not from this area, so I think, well, maybe, it's a bear or something. Maybe that's a normal thing. And a little while later, there's something hitting the glass, and I thought that it was bugs just hitting the glass because they saw the reflection of the moon. Until I happened to notice that we had cedar litter and sticks and things hitting the deck under the sliding glass door. So then I realized that something was actually out there throwing that at the glass. And that kind of made me uncomfortable. We're on the second floor, and the deck has, well, it has a roof over it and railing and all that. So, I mean, something had to be up pretty high and have a really good aim to hit that glass. But it was on both of the uncovered windows up there. And that made me feel really uncomfortable. But I think the sounds that we were hearing was probably what really made us nervous. At this time, my son was 8 years old, and he was scared, and he was asking me what that was, and I said, I don't know what that is. I said, maybe it's a bear. It was large, multiple large animals. You could hear the trees break. You could hear the leaves thrashing. And then you could hear things, it sounded like chest thumping, like I could just envision like King Kong or something like that, and something slapping the ground. I heard that and I thought, that's weird. And rocks being thrown, big heavy rocks thudding against the ground. And it's just weird animal sounds like grunts, snorts. So I thought, well, maybe it's hogs. You know, I didn't grow up in the forest. I didn't have a lot of trees around me. We had just fields where I was at. So this was new. So I didn't know. Maybe it's pigs, maybe it's bears. Um, After a while, I started hearing the tree knocks. And that's when I started thinking about all of, the Finding Bigfoot type shows on TV that I thought were kind of a joke. I thought that's kind of ridiculous. These guys are a little over the top. But when I heard the tree knocking and everything else, I started thinking maybe this is a Sasquatch thing. So while we're up and feeling really nervous about that, because really, I mean, I have a sliding glass door and a big glass window and something pretty big outside trying to scare us off pretty much. It starts to rain. We have thunder and wind and everything come in, and the activity seems to stop. So that was around 11:30 at night. My son falls asleep. And around the time that the rain has quit, I think it's probably safe to go to sleep, but then it picks up again. So around 4 in the morning, we started having more noise, and it seemed like when they came back, they were even more loud and aggressive and, like serious. And I laid there kind of wondering what I should do because before, I was trying to rationalize it and dismiss it, and then this seemed more um, aggressive. Uh, I heard them doing the same thing, but it seemed like it was more intense. And then I heard 3 knocks on the tree right in front of the room where we were staying. And then something slammed into that corner wall, and you could feel it push the whole cabin and everything shifted. So at that point, I felt it was very hostile, and I woke up my son and moved him to another room. And I turned on all the lights to the deck and the front and back porch. And I opened the window and I just shouted, "We're trying to sleep, leave us alone." Whatever I said, it was something to that effect. And it stopped. And I went downstairs and I cracked the kitchen window and listened. And I didn't notice any odors and I couldn't hear anything. But me going up and down the stairs, I woke up my dad, and he was upset that I had let him sleep through all that. Um, and then when I explained to him, I thought maybe we might have a Bigfoot problem. He thought that was a little ridiculous, and he couldn't wait until the sun came out so he could prove me wrong. So as soon as daylight broke, we went outside and we walked around, and we didn't see any signs of these broken trees or any big rocks. So we walked all around the property, and it had rained pretty good. I was upset. Like, I felt there should be some sign of all the commotion that we had that night. And then when we were coming back up to the cabin, like when we walked out, we just went all around the porch and then around all the grass and then came up the front walkway. And my dad happened to notice these footprints, and he pointed them out because we had leaves, and here it's very rocky. There's not a lot of good soil for footprints. So it's a miracle he found those. I never would have found them on my own. And when he pointed them out, we just kind of peeled some leaves back, and we found 3 different sized footprints. And I found a juvenile handprint. And so it made sense to me that I heard the 3 distinct voices call out. And they definitely were not bear tracks. My dad at this point still was arguing with me that it was a bear, but I could tell by the way the toes pressed all the way in. There were no claws. I didn't even see toenails on these. The handprint was definitely not a person's handprint, and I'd probably have to try to draw that to show you. So when I saw that handprint, the palm was very wide and short proportionately. The fingers were very chubby and they went straight across. They weren't graduated lengths like a person's hands, but it's like the thumb had an extra joint. It kind of came out to the side and it was really long. And that was very unusual to me. I've not been able to find a handprint like that, and I've looked. So my first night, that's how I was greeted. And from then on, my dad, he went on this mission to prove to me it was a bear. I don't have Bigfoot. There's no such thing as Bigfoot. And he ended up thinking, yeah, you know what? I think there might be something to the Bigfoot thing. But after this, we had trouble with something would come and it would mess with the windows. Like it tried to lift the windows or would just mess with the bottom of the window, and it would jiggle the doorknobs. So that really made me uncomfortable because it's not just any animal. It's going to go all the way around the cabin. And we had a wraparound porch. So this was going from window to window to door to window to window. And it would do it a couple times a night. There were other things that had gone on. And this just is over the course of so many months after we first moved in. There would be something on the roof, running on the roof, pretty big and heavy. One day I was out there and I realized the screen on the window I had opened to yell out that first night was missing. And it looked like something had dug into the black seal around the window pane. And it looked like claws or fingernails had just been stuffed in there. And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, these meth heads think you can pry a window off with a screwdriver. I thought that is just crazy. I had never seen anything like that. And that was the only window that had been done to. And then later, right in front of the porch, there was a tree. I don't know if that's the one that was getting knocked on that first night, but I suspect it was. This tree had been split apart and kind of twisted like the picture I sent to you, only it was a bigger tree. And I'm not sure like how wide it was, but it was more than a few years old. Anyway, after that, I had to go and take care of some family. I had a relative who was sick and going through cancer treatment, and another friend who was gone on a mission trip. I always did her house sitting and took care of her animals. So we went and did that. And then we came back, and I happened to notice under the carport, one of the windows had 3 claw marks cut through the screen, and there was a scratch. Well, there were scratches on the glass under that. And when I saw that, I thought, wow, that bear must have been hungry, you know? And I went in thinking, man, I must have left trash or something in here. I don't know what would have caused that. But that was one of the walls where that thing had been walking against there pretty frequently. It would go under there to where the steps were up to the deck, and it would just hang out there. So I don't know if that is even related or if it was a bear. During my time here, I've had mountain lions on my roof, and I've had a pair of mountain lions that'll come, and I don't know if it's a mother and a cub, but it's been a frequent thing every year. Well, until recently. Over time, we just had things like that happening, and there would be weird noises outside that you might dismiss as just, like an owl or people being stupid. And I do have neighbors not too far away, so I figured they were probably just messing with us. There would be knocks on the wall, there would be rocks thrown on the roof or at the door or at the dogs. One of my dogs, she got her face busted with a big rock. We have fruit trees, but we've never been able to get fruit off of them. Around the time it's ready to pick, all the fruit is gone. And I mean, from the very top of the tree to the ground, there's nothing. And one year I noticed after so many months, like it had been a month or two since the fruit was on the tree, I had a pear in my backyard, and it had a bite out of it, and it was a really weird bite, and I don't know if something threw it at the dog or if it fell from one of the trees in the back. But this bite in the pear was very strange to me. When I looked at it at first, I thought it was a person had bit this pear and threw it in my yard, and I was kind of upset. Like, those people are stealing my fruit and just kind of rubbing it in my face. But when I looked at the pear, it kind of had more of a square bite mark, and it had really big incisors or canines, I guess you would call those. They were really big. So that was a pronounced thing I noticed in this pear. And later on, I was like, you know what? I bet that was like a juvenile Sasquatch. That was a little one. And they didn't seem to like the dogs. I noticed the dog would always carry on and chase things up trees. And it's this one particular dog. She got to where she wouldn't go outside anymore. In fact, I still have her, and she does not like to go outside at all. She was an outside dog 24/7, and now she wants to stay inside. She's scared to go outside. But everything would be thrown at her, and she would be miserable. So I let her stay in, and she only comes out with me sometimes, or we will go hiking or go on walks. And I have noticed when you hear the Sasquatch calls, she gets really nervous and she runs to the car. She does not like that at all. And I just thought that was very interesting. Something else. We started having our front door get slammed open, and it would happen around 3 in the morning a lot of times. And the running on the roof, it sounded like whatever ran on the roof actually jumped onto the roof and would run and jump off and land on the ground and continue running. And that was a regular thing. We had a spot on the ground that was completely bare. There was no grass that would grow there because it was so frequent. We have a gate at the end of the driveway, and on either side of it, there are these wooden fences, sections of fence, and it goes across a creek. And I used to lock this gate and have to come in when I was moving in. So I would come in and it'd be late at night or early in the morning and it's pitch black. We don't have security lights or anything out here. So when I would get out, I always would be really scared, except this one night I came in and I guess it was probably around 3 in the morning and I didn't feel scared. I got out and was unlocking the gate and I don't know how to describe it. I felt very comfortable, at ease, safe. And that never ever happened before. I always felt terrified. And I didn't have enough light, and it didn't matter if I had a weapon on me. I did not feel safe getting out and unlocking the gate. But this particular morning, I felt okay. And as soon as I unlocked the lock, I noticed something walk down from my fruit trees, and it was crossing my circle drive, and it really did look like it had been looking at me from its peripheral vision, like it side-eyed me. It never turned its head. It stood up completely straight, and I just stood there in shock. I didn't feel scared. I had my bright lights on this. My car has those yellow lights. So when this thing walked by, I noticed, wow, it's really shiny. So what I saw was basically like King Kong. This thing was probably at least 8 feet tall. At least. He stood upright. He didn't slouch. Like I said, he didn't turn his head, but it did look like he had side-eyed me and walked by, and it was almost like he just kind of He looked at me like I was nothing. And I just felt okay. And you would think I would be terrified, but I was not scared. And I don't understand that because he was so close to me. This thing was huge. He did have the conical shaped head. He was completely black. His hair, it had like a blue shine to it, very shiny, very clean. He had a smooth walk. That's one thing I noticed. Like he was very quiet as he walked across. I didn't hear anything. I didn't smell anything. There was no bad odors. Um, he did swing his arms a pretty good amount, but like he took long strides and he was gone almost as soon as he showed up. And I don't know, it was crazy to see that because I was looking at this thing that was so muscular. And I've seen films of whatever people are saying is a Sasquatch, and they always look kind of, I don't know, out of shape. This guy, he had big pecs, he had well-defined abs. He made me feel really out of shape. And he was just pure muscle. So I don't know what to make of all those other pictures or videos that people have. This guy was tall, stood up straight, strong, and he seemed very intelligent, very capable, very confident. He put off this confidence. He was not afraid at all. So I might need to think of that as a little bit of an insult. You know, obviously he sized me up and I'm not a threat. Um, but he had crossed under this branch I had hanging down, and that branch, goodness, I really think he was over 8 feet tall because he was his head was right up under that thing. And here's another strange thing I'm gonna share. I had a puppy I would take with me on my trips back and forth, and I had a leash for him because he was a pretty big dog. It was one of those metal chain leashes, and I had left it hanging on the porch, and then it went missing. Well, a while later, I found that thing way up. It had been looped around a branch on a very, very tall cedar tree. And it was right out front. So I don't know how long it had been there. And I just didn't notice it because it was hanging so high. But I don't know if they did that. It's just one of those funny things that I have to wonder about. Um, Recently, I did find something else, and I had noticed somebody shared their stories, and they had put on there, they think that the Sasquatch on their property shotguns soda. Well, I was out here working in the yard, and I found a can, and I picked it up. It looked like it was full. It hadn't been opened. Well, when I picked it up, it was completely empty. And I couldn't find a hole in it. I didn't see where it had been opened. And I meant to go back and see if I could find that can because it's like something had sucked out what was inside and then blew inside the can because the ends were kind of puffed out. So I don't know if that is also a Sasquatch thing. It's just I have found a couple cans like that, and I always think, wow, that's weird. And then I throw them away. And since I saw somebody else share that, I've been wondering if maybe that's what they do. Because I have this one, the really big, tall black one. He hangs out in the bamboo and he watches. So if I'm out in the yard and I'm working, if I'm cutting trees and piling wood and burning stuff, especially, he just kind of stands out there and he watches. And I'll catch him, occasionally going into the bamboo. And my mom was telling me she kept seeing something go in the bamboo. So one day I was out there and I was getting ready to burn 2 huge piles of trees. And she is starting to pull into this driveway. And I hear her car and I see this thing going into the bamboo. And it's like as soon as she got there, this thing knew she was there and went into the bamboo to hide, or I'm not sure if that's what's going on there, but she had been telling me she saw something going into the bamboo, and I feel like it is just kind of hanging out and watching. So whenever he hears her car, he goes into our timber bamboo and just kind of hangs out. And I've got various experiences with the bamboo and whatever is going on there. So I've come down to the shop, and if I have like appointments or whatever by phone, I tend to come down here and take care of that and other things. I come down here to work out, and after I'm here for a little while, sometimes I'll hear something out there, and you can hear it like walking against the outside walls, or it'll knock on the wall, or there'll be like a rock or something thrown against the wall. One day something did growl at me on the other side of the wall and kind of make me a little bit uncomfortable. Um, I think they get upset with different things. So when I was on my way out, I came out into the yard and heard something, and I saw something going through the bamboo, just kind of crashing through. And I heard this weird noise, and I thought, wow, do we have pigs again? Because I really didn't want them out here tearing up everything. I have kind of food forest kind of situation getting started, and I didn't want them to come tear everything up. So I was going out there and I was thinking, that sounds really big, but it sounded like something was pulling up the bamboo shoots and chewing on them. And it just sounded crazy. So I started throwing stuff in the bamboo to see if something would run out. And then I kind of scared myself because I didn't have anywhere to go. My door was locked and there were trees like everywhere. So I didn't figure that out. But after that, I noticed whenever I would go down to the shop or up to the cabin, something would throw rocks. Or when I would be down in the shop, something would be banging in the walls or whatever, just letting me know, I'm here. Sometimes it would slam a rock into the cabin really hard when I was going back up to the cabin. So I think they're pretty good at communicating. It's just trying to figure out what they're saying. When I go to the back of the property to cut trees or deal with all the brush or whatever, sometimes I deal with, I can't see what it is. There will be sounds made and it's clearly not whatever the sound is being made. I feel like they're imitating threatening sounds to kind of scare me off. And it usually works, but if I don't listen, it ends up being more of an aggressive, like guttural growl, which really scares me. I'm not gonna lie. As soon as I hear these things, I do try to back up to the gate and go back to the house. And the last time that happened to me, it had me shaking. Like I had tremors in my whole body. I ended up sick and had a very bad headache. And that's the only time that's happened to me. out here. Um, I'm gonna try and just focus on the Sasquatch. So, my mom and my brother and my son and my nephews, they all have stories. They've had experiences here. Um, we've had people see large hairy animals, and then there's been all the weird sounds and stuff. So
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of
I
activity.
it is, and I don't want to get it all mixed up and just all over the place, but I feel like I am just all over the place. We do have something that is not a Sasquatch, and that is if I feel like I've got very different things here. And one thing I feel like it's more rational, more reasonable, I can deal with that. It's more communicative, if that makes sense. And like I said, like I feel like if I upset Sasquatch, the big tall black thing out here in the bamboo, I think he just kind of is out here watching, making sure I don't make trouble or start a forest fire. But the other stuff, I feel like it's more hostile and it is just very aggressive, which I did have an experience that scared me. And I have not been able to make sense of it or really identify what that was. And I did contact someone about that because, I wanted to find out what that is and make it go away, which I think it's gone right now. But these things seem to happen in cycles, and I think they kind of alternate. Like they take turns, or they get into territorial disputes, or they move for whatever reason, and then they come back. And I've only been here about, well, we got here in August 2016. So that's the limited experience I have here, but it seems like a lot. And I don't know if it's because so much land around me has no trees and they just kind of spend a lot of time here and go through here crossing over. But it's been very, very active, and sometimes it's really stressful. And sometimes it's just, you could almost forget anything like that happens. Um,
Yeah, I know what you mean. What else is on the property that's not Bigfoot?
okay, so I'm gonna, like I said, when I go out in the back to do things, I get kind of threatened, scared off. For a while, I thought I had a mountain lion and cubs out there because it was kind of a mountain lion sound, which I mean, sometimes they make different sounds. Well, one day I went out there and I thought I'll just go over here and it'll be fine. I'm not going very far back. I can see the house. It's pretty well cleared. It was like a little pasture area back behind the house. At that point, it got overgrown because I mean, they wouldn't let me back there anymore after I cleared it out. They didn't want me back there. Um, so I had gone out there to do this thing and I heard what sounded like a mountain lion, the chirping that they do. And I was like, oh, I need to go. Well, when I was leaving, I got up to the trail and right behind the cedar, there was something that was a very gruff sounding, like the same kind of sound that a mountain lion makes, but it was very gruff and obviously something else making the sound. So we have mountain lions that come here, and we used to have coyotes. We don't have those anymore. They've been gone for a while, like years. Um, anyway, they would come in a pair and they would chirp back and forth to each other, and they would kind of run the coyotes off from their kill. And that's, I've got to see a lot of neat things out here, but they talk back and forth. So I know I've usually got two of them out here, but what I heard in the cedar tree was not a mountain lion. Um, it scared the crap out of me. So I backed off and I just kind of bent down and I grabbed like a big branch and held it up in front of me and I backed all the way to the gate and I didn't go back out there. Well, later that evening, my mom came in from Tennessee to visit and I was talking to her about this, and she knows the rules. You don't go outside without somebody with you, and, self-defense is a necessity. You have to have that. Um, anyway, she didn't listen, and I don't know what we were doing, but she went out to the car to grab something. She didn't make it to the car. Something was right out front by the shed, and it growled at her. She said, I don't know what that was. I've never heard anything like that in my life. Was it a bear? Anyways, we went through playing all these sounds and nothing sounded right. But I think I know what she heard because my son and I had a similar experience and it was terrifying. But that next day, I was going to take my son to school and it's still dark outside. Um, and I was in a hurry. I didn't grab anything but my phone and the car keys. So I turn on my phone's flashlight and my screen was on. So, I'm kind of blinding myself at the same time, but I'm holding the phone up with the flashlight, just trying to see. And he goes off ahead of me. And I reach out and grab him. I say, wait, slow down. I can't see good enough. And as soon as I say that, something comes from behind the wood pile. So my car is parked out in the middle so that my mom can come in and do what she needs to do because I expected her kind of late. And that morning, my car was a little farther out. This thing was to the left side of the driveway behind a woodpile. I thought it was standing up when I first saw it, but I can't see good. Thing comes walking behind. It's very tall, very red. And when I first saw it, the way that it was shaped, I thought it was my son's dog, Banjo. He was a big red dog. He was a Great Pyrenees mixed with like a King Corso. But he was red and he had a long tail and he was really skinny in the middle. And I thought it was him. As it came around and started coming towards me, I was like, whoa, maybe that's a mountain lion. But it had the long tail. It was clearly a canine from the side. But when it turned and it comes towards me, I'm really confused by what I'm seeing. I don't even know what to make of it. I don't see long, floppy ears. I don't see big, tall ears. If it had ears, they were like back and down. But it was red colored. The whole body had very short, very, very fine red colored fur. But the tail was long haired. It was a long tail, just like Banjo. And the middle was very, very skinny. The chest was broad. It kind of reminded me of a pit bull, but it was doing something weird with those front legs or arms. I'm not even sure what to call them. It's like they were swinging back and forth, or it was kind of going side to side, like which way am I going? Or trying to kind of corral us because it was going one way. The left leg had stepped out, and I grabbed my son and had pulled him back behind me. And then it started kind of just going back and forth from there. And I don't know if it was trying to decide which way it was going to cut. And it ended up going to the right around the shed to flank us. But we backed up, I don't know how many yards. And I just yelled for my mom because she was still there. She was getting ready to leave. And I yelled for her and she came out. I said, you know, I need you to shoot. And so she did, and we didn't see it anymore. And that morning I texted the bus driver. I said, "Hey, I'm not sure we're gonna make it because we're having mountain lion problems." Because, I didn't know what to say about this. Now it was dark. I couldn't see good, but that was not very far from me. It was coming right at me. Well, when I talked to my son about it, he didn't understand what my problem was. So he's taller than me. I had my phone, I was holding it up over my head, and I don't know if my screen kept him from seeing what was down in front of me. His eyes were fixed on what was standing under the tree, and he thought it was a bear. He said, "Mom, it was just a big bear. It wasn't even bothering us." I never saw that thing. All I saw was what came from behind the woodpile and was coming at me. He saw a big bear standing under the tree, just standing there watching us. When my mom got in her car and was driving, she called me and she said, "Hey, Nick, I have a weird handprint on my windshield." And I said, "What do you mean you have a weird handprint on your windshield?" She described something. She said it's like it has long fingers or claws, but it's like a hand. It's not a paw. And I thought that is strange, but I had found a handprint like that. Um, you know, one of the times I had gone out back, I was checking on something because I had a lot of noise and traffic out there, and I was trying to see what was going on. And I found a handprint under the barbed wire fence under some cedars. And I was really upset because I almost thought somebody had a kid out here. I'm like, "Why are you coming out here with kids at night? That's not safe." You're trespassing with kids. And then I thought, well, that's kind of long. Maybe it's a woman with really skinny hands. But these were really long fingers. And I didn't know what to make of that. It was not a raccoon. I've raised raccoons, which leads me to something else. My mom came home one day and said, "Hey, Nikki, I saw a bear sitting in the trees and it was picking up grass and eating it." And I said, "Bears don't do that." And I said, "Are you sure it wasn't like a black raccoon?" She said, "Well, it was kind of small, but she said it was reaching out, picking up grass and eating it." And I thought, that is the weirdest thing I've heard. But I guess we have a lot of weird things going on out here, which might explain some of the weird stuff I've heard in the bamboo. Um, and I'm scared to go in there, honestly. um, but I I don't know what that was. And it's funny because my neighbor, I was talking to him, he came by to check on me, and he had said something, and I was telling him about this thing that I saw, like, "Oh man, you're not gonna believe this. There's something out here and it's weird." And I was describing it to him, and he's telling me, he's seen red wolves, and they're not like a red wolf, but they're like big wolves that are red in color. So we've had that around here. A pretty good area has, and I've heard stories around Talahina about this. Um, and I'm not sure if it's called the Green Hill Monster. I might be making that up. I'm not sure the location this was supposed to be, but I've heard other people describe something like this. So anyway, he tells me his nephew was coming back from a hunting trip and they had a cabin down around, well, it was around Clayton, I think. So they were driving on this highway by me, and he said, "I think I saw a chupacabra or something. It was like a big red coyote, but it was like it didn't have any hair." And I thought, wow. And I don't remember how he said it was walking, but he said it was really big. and it scared him. But, my friend was making fun of his nephew for saying he saw a chupacabra. And all I could think is, man, I saw something right in front of my house. I don't know what that thing was. And if that's what smells like a mangy coyote, wow, it's out here a lot. But it came right to us. And it seems like there was that one, and there was the one standing under the tree, and there was one hiding behind my mom's car. So there was one right in front of us under the tree. That one cut to my left, and then back to my right, there would have been another one with its hand on my mom's windshield before she came out and shot. Anyway, I don't know what that is. And I have seen some weird stuff out here. There's always something going on, and it just seems to get weirder and weirder. So, but that's not a Sasquatch, I don't think. And I was laughing because somebody was talking about the bearilla. I don't know if you've heard of that, but somebody was talking about that around Kentucky. I thought that is the most ridiculous name. It's no wonder people don't take this stuff seriously. And then, you get into the weirder and weirder stuff, and it's like, yeah, there's no way normal people in a normal life are going to take these things seriously because it's just bizarre. And then you get into more of the woo territory with more paranormal type stuff and other weird things. And there's a lot of the cryptid researchers, investigators, they won't touch that. Even when they have their own weird experiences, they don't want, to be dismissed. They want people to take them seriously. So, I understand that. I'm a little bit uncertain what all I should share as well. But yeah, there's something out here besides Sasquatch. And I could tell a lot of stories. Um, so I think that is actually a relevant one. So when we got here, we had, our little Sasquatch family welcome party. And then, he showed himself to me. Well, that was in August. Sometime in September, there was something going on. And I have all these theories, but I was coming home and there was a female elk. And I've been told we don't have elk here. I had a female elk. She crossed the highway down into, the ditch by the creek. I saw her. I don't know how many days it was after that. I was upstairs. I had my window open because I like to hear everything going on outside. Um, which now I'm kind of nervous about having my windows open because of what's been on my roof. But I was listening to what sounded really pretty. It was almost hypnotic. And I heard a similar recording on a show that I had watched with my nephew. I think it's called These Woods Are Haunted. Anyway, they had done a recording, and this sounded similar to that, except this had more of a melody to it. And the only animal I know of that does like the whistle and the bugle together is an elk. But it was like that, except it was a very, very pretty sound. And it was sing-songy. I don't know a better way to describe it. And it had a melody, and it just kind of continued. Well, the wolves were out here howling. And we do have wolves out here. I mean, a lot of people are in denial, but we have wolves. And you could hear them all around and surrounding this thing. So the wolves harmonized with this. And then they all took off running into the forest down towards, I don't know, the Talamina Drive, I guess, out that way. And I was like, that is so beautiful. And then I thought, well, that's actually really, really sad because there's no way an elk could outrun the wolves. There's no way. And it was Like a couple hours later, I heard the Sasquatch alarm call. I don't know if you've heard that one. They have almost like a siren call that they do. And there was one that went off, and then it was followed by others answering back, and they were just like all over calling back and forth, almost like a roll call. It was weird. Well, after that, I didn't have any more trouble on the property, and we didn't have any more coyotes. In fact, one day my brother was out here and found a coyote, a very large coyote, behind the pond, and he was talking to me about it. He's like, "Hey, did you see that big coyote?" No, I haven't been back there. Well, it was a big, healthy looking coyote, except for all of its insides had been pulled out. Its, back end, like ripped out or something. He said, "What would cause that?" Well, I don't know, but I've heard other stories, so I have thoughts about that now. But we don't have coyotes out here anymore. And when we do, they're in small numbers, and then they don't seem to last long. And that's unusual because there used to be a lot of coyotes, and they would come in and they would just carry on all night long. So there's no more of that. Uh, and I don't know what to make of that. And I thought maybe it was like a territorial dispute, but one night my brother was out here describing hearing the same kind of a song, and he said they harmonize. So the wolves and this other sound he described as harmonizing. And I thought that was really interesting because, now that's another thing he has witnessed on his own that I've also witnessed. And that, I don't know, it makes me feel better having other people see these things, hear these things, but at the same time, I don't have the answers I want. And whatever's out here that's really, really not nice, I'm not sure how safe that is. I've had something out here that just watches something. It has green eye shine, and it just watches, and it's tall. And you can get really close with your flashlight, and it just backs up and it's gone. No more eye shine, no anything. And that's weird. I can't explain that. That's happened to me and my son. Um, and I was talking to my mom the other day about something that happened, and I was really close to something, and I could see these icy blue eyes. They looked like a human's eyes. They were big eyes, and I was really close to this, and they were crouched low to the ground. But with my flashlight on it, being that close, I couldn't see a face. I couldn't see a body. It was like 6 in the morning. It was pretty dark, but I feel like I should have seen something, you know, and that bothered me because I thought the coyotes were out that morning. They'd come in through the creek bed. I had to walk my son up to the end of the driveway and wait for the bus. I'm out there with a flashlight, and, you know, um, I'm not sure if I can say that, I had a weapon, so, but not enough to make me feel safe in a situation like that. And when I came back through, that's what I saw, like down low on the ground is these big eyes looking up at me, and I couldn't see anything there. I didn't know what I was looking at, just like, wow, that is so weird. It looks like a person. Those eyes were human, and they were very, very blue. And I don't know what that was. Like, I have no idea. But it was really close. And it's little things like that that just kind of, they make me really uncomfortable sometimes. I've had times where I was doing things, and one day I was taking laundry up to my son's room, and I passed the office window and saw this big dead cedar tree. And immediately I thought, I don't have a cedar tree out there. What was that? So I go back and I look, and there's nothing there. So this big dead cedar tree, it was there when I went upstairs. And when I came back through to look, it wasn't there. And at night, I've been out there and had like little cedars, they're shaped like cedar trees. And you go out there and you think about it and you're like, I don't have a tree there. And they're not there. So, I mean, they're good at being trees. So I don't know the rest of the story, like how do they hide as well as they do? They shake trees. I know that. So whenever they start shaking this tree over here, I always go back to the house. I don't know if that's like, them telling me I'm too close or what. I know the little ones stay in the trees. In fact, I've seen pictures of them up there, and this kind of blew my mind. This is before, I really believed all of this stuff was going on. I was still trying to, rationalize it and explain it away, and I didn't end up doing that. But I saw these little ones in the trees, and they were covered in black hair, but their faces were not black. They were like Caucasian. And they had these little flattish noses, and their eyes were kind of wide set. And I thought they looked very human, you know? And the big tall guy I saw out here around 3 in the morning, I haven't got a good look at his face, but I don't get that impression from him at all. Like, I really feel like he's probably like a smaller version of King Kong. But the little ones in the trees, they look so human. I mean, there are differences, but that really surprised me. So when I hear people describe them different ways, I don't dismiss it because I've seen a lot of weird stuff. And like I said, I have something out here that's definitely not Sasquatch. And, when my son was little, he would tell me, we have werewolves, and he would draw me pictures. And I said, I have seen a lot of weird stuff and I haven't seen that, so I don't think that's true. And he would tell me he saw it, and I would say, where? And he would point it out, and I wouldn't see it. So, like, my 8-year-old son's telling me, we got a werewolf. There's one right there, and I don't see it. And I feel so bad because I dismissed it. And I said, no, we don't have werewolves. There's no such thing. And I feel really, really bad about that because I don't know that that's true. At this point, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff out here. And some of the things that I have seen, I haven't got a good look at them. So I've been willing to say, oh, it's dark. I don't know what I saw. Something, maybe nothing. So I dismiss a lot of things. The smell, though, there are 2 very distinct odors. One of them is this awful, it's like the smell when you tear open a gut bag if you're, I don't know if you do the hunting and all that. There's
Yeah.
awful rancid odors. Okay, there's a smell like that. And there's one that's like strong mangy dog mixed with almost like that really foul smelling mud, like pond muck, where it's all just stagnant, decaying leaves, all that. It's like mixed with that. There's that one. And it kind of crosses over into that, I'm not sure, like just strong, offensive odor. And you can smell that. Like when they come up, you can smell it before they're even here. And then there's the smell. Sometimes it'll be out here. It's like a strong sulfur odor. And I used to think it was like gas venting. I'm thinking, it's just sulfur gas venting or something. It's not anything else. But sometimes it is so strong out here. Like you smell it outside, and it's just nauseating. And I don't know, like I said, when I saw the Sasquatch, I didn't smell that. Um, there's another thing, and this has happened to me some, and I dismissed it as low blood pressure because after surgery I had trouble with my blood pressure, but it happened to me so much I said to my son, I can't go walking by myself anymore. Um, I felt like there was a pressure change and it was very disorienting, and I was getting turned around. It's like I was getting picked up and moved to a totally different place. And I was like, how did I end up here? Well, that happened to my brother out here. In fact, we were all here, and he ran up there chasing lights. You know how people talk about the orbs? He was convinced they were flashlights. And it's funny because he really does. He goes and chases these thinking he's going to catch a person. And it's happened more than one time. So, I'm sorry. I'm getting kind of cold and chilly, and
No, you're fine.
you can hear it in my voice probably. He went up chasing these, and he's gone for a while. So we're just waiting on him to come back, like, what is he doing? He just goes straight up the hill. And there are so many sections of barbed wire fence he would have to get through, and it's really rocky, really rough terrain. There's trees all over. He starts walking up the driveway, and everybody's like, What happened? How did you get there? He said, I have no idea what happened. I don't know how I got here. And he said he felt like he had drank some NyQuil. And I had talked to another guy about the red, you know, dog thing that wasn't a dog, that wasn't a mountain lion, that I don't know what it was. And he had had a similar experience. And I was talking to my son's friend about it, how that weird stuff was happening. And he was telling us a story. They never saw any cryptids or anything like that, but they were all hunting. And there were like 5 or 6 of them, and they went out and they were hunting and doing the guy stuff. And they ended up like in a totally different place on the other side of the river, and they didn't know how they got there. It was like, they just got moved. It's like you get rearranged and you feel a little bit funny and you don't know how to explain it. So that happens a lot around here. And I feel better because I really thought it was me. And, I could see like in that state how somebody might get lost and way far from where they thought they were going, because this is my property. And if I can't walk from point A to point B on my own property, there is something wrong. It's not that big that I could get lost, but it happened repeatedly. And this one particular day, I went up and I was walking and I knew exactly where I was going to go. And I was like, I'm not feeling really well. I feel kind of lightheaded, a little bit nauseous. I feel like I might faint. I think I'm going to just go home. So I was going to cut through and go across to the other trail. And while I was doing this, I could hear the foxes, and we hadn't had foxes out here in a while. So I thought, wow, since when did the foxes get back? And I could hear them on one side, and I was walking really close to them. Next thing I know, I come out someplace totally different from where I was going, and I hear them on the opposite side of me. And I just felt so like lost. And I couldn't explain what had happened. Like, how did I get there? And I know I was listening to the foxes and I was going here. What happened? What happened? So I come home and I am like really stressed out. I'm like, I think I need to go to the hospital. I'm really not feeling well. I can't explain what just happened to me. I don't know if I blacked out. I'm not sure how I got there, but I really don't feel well. and I'm kind of having a hard time breathing. So, you know, I put it off, and over the next couple days, I wasn't feeling any better. I ended up going to the ER just to find out I was fine. But, it's just sometimes these things are happening, and they're happening a lot. And there is a lot. Like when I first moved here, I thought this place just had really weird lightning, and we would have the rainbow colored flashes in the air, and there wouldn't be any thunder or clouds or rain. It was always up the hill from me. I thought it was so weird. I kind of miss having real thunderstorms and ground to cloud lightning. Okay, well, apparently that's not what it was. Um, and a lot of things have happened since then to change my mind. But one morning I was walking my dog around. I had a big dog, but I kept her inside because she was in heat and I didn't want puppies. Anyway, it's like 4:30 in the morning. I'm walking my dog around because I got to get ready, take my son to school, go to work, all that. While I'm walking her, there's this thing that comes over, and I thought it was a star. I thought, wow, that seems really low. Ultimately, I end up deciding, no, it's like a UFO. I can't identify it. It was kind of a white oval shape, like an egg. But the thing that was weird is it had this light shooting up around it like an arc, but it was rainbow colored. And it was really pretty, but that's what makes the rainbow colored flashes. And so occasionally you'll see that out here, and I always get woke up. It's like the light shines right in my eyes through my window. I always wake up and see this thing. And it's just like a twinkling star out there, you know? Um, but I've seen that a lot. And it's not rainbow colored flashes up the hill anymore like it used to be. But that thing comes and there's activity around when that is around. And it's, you know, some of the stuff I don't know if I want to talk about yet. I know I already sound crazy and completely unorganized. My thoughts are really a mess. But it's really kind of alienating when you have things like that and you want to talk to somebody, but you can't just talk to anybody. And then when you say things, you feel crazy, and that's kind of where I am. I had found people to talk to because I wanted answers and I wanted help. And then the woo factor was kind of like, okay, that's outside of my comfort zone or my expertise. And then I was referred to, like, talk to a priest, with the door opening on its own and all. Because now instead of the door slamming open, occasionally our doors just open very slowly. It's like somebody just opens the door and walks in. It's strange, but there's more disturbing things than that. Um, and the things on the roof, and I have the the worst feeling that you probably couldn't see anything at all in the pictures that I sent you. But when I saw that thing on my roof, I you can hear stuff on the roof and you can think all the things that you want to, but when you see something on your roof like that, it's a little bit different, you know. When I have a so the thing that I saw, I had received a phone call that I didn't want to take because it was really late, and then I was getting text messages. Well, yeah, I'm not feeling that great. I'm hot. I'm gonna open my window. I go to open my window, and they're crouched at the edge of my roof. I see these hocked legs, and something is crouched over the edge of my roof, overlooking like right where my back door, would be. So I have a covered porch. So if you walked straight out the back door into the backyard, it would be right above that. And, it just really bothered me seeing that there. And I saw it And I made all kinds of noise, moving the blinds and starting to open the window, and it didn't move. I tapped on the glass and it didn't move. And I thought, that's not there. But I still see it there, you know? So when I put my phone out to take a picture to prove to myself there's nothing there, I felt really, really uncomfortable, and I almost dropped my phone. And when I saw my pictures, I thought there's definitely something there, and it's moved. And when I looked out the window, it was moved, and I didn't feel better about it. I actually think I felt worse. So, um, I have some weird stuff going on here, and I feel kind of alone, you know? I'm not sure who to talk to about it because I sound completely crazy. And then I had made the mistake of talking to somebody who thought that I needed rescuing and needed attention. So he was going to be that person. And I didn't need that. So um, I don't know. It would be nice to just talk to people who can relate and who might have information, you know, or at least make me feel less alone in it. I wish I could, you know, how Ghostbusters had the Ghostbusters hotline. I wish there was like a Cryptid Busters hotline. When things get really crazy out here, I wish there was a number to call because, you know, when I was here with my 8-year-old, it was really terrifying. Anytime I tried to deal with stuff, it was just overwhelming. Now, it's not as bad, but, you know, when you have the extra weird stuff and you want to talk to somebody and you're not feeling any less crazy, it's I don't know. Sometimes you just want somebody to talk to who can relate, if that makes sense. And I mean, dealing with strange animals is one thing, but when you start looking at things as maybe that's not all that I'm dealing with, then that's a whole other thing. You know, trying to adjust to that. I'm like, hey, you know, Bigfoot is real. Okay. And then you get into what else is going on here? What is this? And when I have my nephews and my son talking to me about things that they experience and see on their own and showing me the pictures on their phone and describing, you know, what they've seen, it's like, wow, it's not just me. So I don't know if I should feel better or worse with that. This is, I don't know. Have you ever seen like a Bigfoot with pointed ears? Has
No, I
anybody
haven't, but
described
I've
that?
I've heard reports from other people that it had pointy
Okay,
ears, or I don't know. There's a
that
guy.
makes me feel better.
Yeah, there was a guy that was talking about dicks in Missouri, and it was like a kind of like a Bigfoot, but it had a snout and it had pointy ears,
Yeah,
and it was vicious.
yeah. Well, we've got some, okay. Like I said, sometimes you see something, you're not sure you saw it, and there's something out here that's more like a goblin troll looking thing, but the ears, like I have a nephew that describes it like an elf, Bigfoot with elf ears, and that's got more of a red tint to the hair, the one that he's been describing. My son saw one, and he said, Mom, it's like a cat. And I said, that's what I've been seeing.
And how old
You
is your
know,
son
it's
now, or whenever he saw
my
that?
son.
Hmm.
Well, he saw this last summer. I think that's when I had all the kids here was last summer. And it was really eventful. And it's so strange how when my brother comes and when the nephews come, activity picks up. In fact, it's almost a given. Whenever he visits, there's going to be something come up by the creek and call out. You're going to hear the whoops. You're going to hear what they've been doing is like a turkey hen call at night. And that was something weird. I was like, hey, what is that? And my nephew and my brother both said, that's a turkey hen, but it's not really a turkey hen. And me, I don't do all the hunting and all that, but that's their thing. So it's like it tries to call him out. Another thing that happens is we get the crazy thick darkness, like you stick your arm out and you can't see it right in front of you. Thick darkness, or the fog, crazy thick fog. And I don't know why, but that usually happens when he's here, and it goes quiet. It's like super quiet. And I don't like it, because even with a flashlight you can't see. So, and he's a smoker, so he goes out on the porch and he smokes. And he used to kind of trash talk to whatever was out here. One day he was here and something ran up from the back gate and stopped. He said, I could hear the running and I could feel when it stopped. And he said he was out there talking and he felt fine because he had his gun. And I don't know what kind, but he thought it was a sufficient one till he flicked his cigarette and it went straight across, hit something, fell straight down. And he said it's like a black wall was just standing there. There is a slope. After you get off my porch, it slopes down. And he said, look at this. And he brings me out there. He's like, you see where that cigarette fell? He said, this thing hit right here. Do you know how tall that would have been? And he said he was scared. He said, all right. He backed up, he grabbed his gun and backed into the cabin. And, those are the kinds of things that happen with him here. But he said, Nikki, it's not just you. You're not losing your mind. Well, maybe you are, but you're not crazy. This stuff's really happening. It's weird. Something is going on out there. And now my mom is here. She's moved here from out of state, and she's had a lot of experiences too. And she just thinks it's really weird, the things that she hears. So I did pay these guys to come cut the trees down over here, and it's like right at the corner of my backyard, and it's behind the pond, right along the creek. These things would come through there, and they would be loud. They would be thrashing through the trees, screaming, hollering, just very hostile, and it was a terrifying sound. Well, my nephew was here and he had a really bad experience. He wanted to stay down in the shop, which is basically like a bunkhouse. And, normally we wouldn't let them do that, but he was older, knew how to, take care of himself, had a phone, and he was out here and all kinds of stuff started going on. He said he saw something pass the window, and I can relate to this. It's happened to me. He said it was so tall. So that thing would have been over 9 feet tall to pass by the window and be that big. It scared him, but the knocking and the moving the door, sometimes something will open the door. And then there were lights flashing out here. So he got on the phone and had us come get him. We couldn't explain what was going on, but he was scared and he hasn't come back since then. And he couldn't believe that I was living out here by myself. He said that, I don't know if this is a compliment, he said that his Aunt Nikki is like a man to live out here and do all this. And I don't know, honestly, it scares the crap out of me sometimes. But for the most part, it's not always like that, but when it is, it seems to last for a while, and it's like every night, even during the day, you can't go out and do stuff. And last year, I just got to the point where I was like, I feel like it's closing in on me. It's not just if I go out back. I can't even get out front to the car to leave without them being out there. So they haven't been doing that. it's been kind of quiet and peaceful, but Sasquatch is back. I thought Sasquatch was gone. I hadn't seen or heard any Sasquatch activity for a little while, but he was in the bamboo just kind of watching, making sure I don't burn the forest down, I guess. And I don't know if we're on good terms with the Sasquatch or not. I don't I don't feel exactly safe with them either, if that makes sense, but I'd rather deal with that than whatever else has been out here. And I can't oh, and the lights, we have so many lights. We have the orbs, we have flashes. Like there will be just big flashes of light out here. Or I used to think it was lightning until I watched it come down in like a beam and hit the same spot repeatedly, 3 or 4 times. My nephew had told me about this one night last summer. And he said I couldn't sleep because somebody kept flashing that light in the window. And I said, there wasn't anybody out there with a flashlight. There wasn't anybody out here last night, because I have insomnia. I don't sleep. And apparently I didn't notice this. So after I dropped him off and I came in, I was in the living room doing some things and I saw this bright flash. And so I look out my window and I see it's around the corner of where my gate is. And it flashed down. It was just like a beam of light and it hit several times. And I went out there thinking maybe the ground would be scorched or something, and it wasn't. There was no trace of anything. But it's just things like that happen, and other weirdness that I don't know if I want to talk to anybody about. So,
What kind of
but
other weirdness, like paranormal activity or UFOs and
he,
stuff?
well, we do have like the UFO thing, and there's drones, which I found out we have a drone base nearby. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to share that. It's not uh, common knowledge, but there is a drone base, and I don't know if that has anything to do with some of that going on. Um, I've heard stories about portals and things, and I'm actually leaning more towards that is real. The types of stuff that I've seen out here, I don't know how else to describe it. So I told you about the flashing lights by the gate. That next day I was out getting ready for a freeze that was coming in. Well, then that wouldn't be summertime. I don't know. Anyways, one time when I saw the flashes over there, I was outside and I was getting my well houses ready because we were going to have a freeze. And I turned around and my dog had stopped and was staring. And I saw these two things walking from the back, like they had come from that back area into the center of my circle drive. And I have these trees there. Well, they went through the trees, but I didn't see them come out the other side. And I thought maybe I just missed it. And I looked in the trees, expecting them to be in the trees. My dog would not just stand there and watch something like that. She would chase it. So I don't understand what that was about, but these were weird. And so I don't know. I feel really uncomfortable talking about that stuff because when I told my brother about this, he said, Nikki, get off the drugs. This was two animals, and they were not any kind of animal I've ever seen. I would say there was something crossed between like a deer and a cat of some sort. The ears were kind of rounded, but the face wasn't much like a deer. It had deer legs, very long. It was slender. It didn't make a whole lot of sense when I was looking at it, and I thought that's odd. It's unusual. I feel like I'm watching a movie or something. So I thought, man, I must really just be tired. I don't know what I saw. I probably didn't see that. Well, another day I was coming home and I did see something just like that up in the trees, like standing on the hill in the tree line. And I thought, that's crazy. Um, and I don't know. This is just gonna make me sound more and more crazy. So, I had seen where some people were buying their daughters little fairy altars or whatever because they said that the fairies come through these portals. They call them Bigfoot portals. And I've heard other people talk about these things. I've not seen one. I don't know what they look like. But I've seen some strange things, and I'm kind of wondering if that's the sort of stuff that these people are seeing and experiencing as well. And I have a lot of questions about what's going on here, to the point that I'm looking at, okay, what kind of technology do we have that could cause something like this? Is this holographic? Is this nanotechnology? Is this, you know, maybe I need sleep and I shouldn't watch TV ever again? Because I don't know how to explain some of it. But yeah, there's definitely the UFO type things, weird lights, and I don't know how to explain like why I would see those flashes, and then why strange animals also that walked from like the back of my yard up to the front and just disappeared. Like they weren't there at all. And I told my brother, I said, this is weird. I don't understand what I just saw. I don't know what just happened. So I'm I'm at a loss with that. And uh, I don't know how much of that can be explained. So that sort of thing, you know. And I've heard people talk about, well, how does Bigfoot just disappear? I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like they can just be there and not be there. You know, like when you're out here with a flashlight and you've got the eye shine right there in the flashlight, and you walk up and it's like it just backs up and disappears. I can't explain that either. I know that it's a little bit scary, and I don't know. Is it really there? Are they flesh and blood animals? Because that's what I thought that I was dealing with. But then, you know, things get weirder and I have questions about it. So the person I was talking to about this red dog thing, like, okay, I've got weird stuff out here. I don't know what's going on, but you know, maybe somebody has information and they can kind of give me some ideas about what is wrong here. I contacted him about something that happened to me one night. So when the UFO thing, I don't know if it's a drone or whatever, whenever that shows up, sometimes you'll have weird stuff like this. So I was walking upstairs, back upstairs to my room, and my blinds were open. I try not to do that. The way that I was brought up is you always cover your windows at night, and you know that's a tribal thing. So I looked out there and I thought I saw a reflection in the glass. So when I got closer and went to close the blinds, I realized it wasn't a reflection I was seeing on my roof looking in my window. You know, like the predator camouflage kind of. Some people call it glimmer man or whatever. I think it's more like a cloaking. That's kind of what I saw, and that freaked me out. It scared the crap out of me. And I don't know how to explain that either, you know? Like it is just like the movie Predator when you see something there, but you don't quite see it. And that's the best I can describe that. And honestly, I just feel really weird talking about this. Um, and I know that other people can talk to you about things that have happened on the property and answer your questions, but
Hmm.
I don't think it's possible to not sound crazy or feel crazy when you talk about that. And there's a lot of weird things going on. And I am not sure I want to share that. It just, but I can tell you it is, um, I wish people would be more cautious when they go out and always go in groups and always make sure you have plenty of light because I don't think they like having lights on them. It seems they don't like that. And when people go out there, uh, there's a whole other element to this. You know, some people think they're going out to identify a strange animal. I caution people that may not be exactly what you're dealing with. There's something else going on, and there may be other factors that people might fall into. And there's information that I could share with you, but I'd like to do that off the record. Just if you were to do field research, I would want you to be cautious based on things that I have learned, but I don't think I want to really put that out there and share that with the masses. Um, but people need to be careful, and I wish people would stay in groups, always have lots of light. And I don't know, I haven't been camping in forever. I always love to go camping. I don't go hiking by myself anymore. There's a lot of things that I won't go do by myself. There's days I can't even stand to be in my own yard working, if that tells you anything at all. And I got a lot of property to try and keep up with. So, um, like, there's a lot of times it's okay, but then there's a lot of times that it's really not okay. Even in the daytime, I can't be sure that it's safe. With the things that have happened out here, I just don't know. And I would love to have some better equipment to work with to record the sounds and to get nighttime, video or something. Because for myself, I'd like to get a good look at it. I've had cameras up. I've had my trail cameras. They like got demagnetized. I was informed by one of the people that I know who was on the drug task force that you can swipe the cameras and erase everything. Well, I had a lot of cameras that were no good. I had cameras that were taken. Um, and the cameras that I have that are wired in on the outside of my cabin, I've had the cables cut. So, I mean, people are like, why don't you do this? I even put dash cams on my car, front and back. Like, I want to cover all my bases. And it's been ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had a lot of stuff happen. Do you think the Bigfoot like to hang out in the bamboo?
I think that there's always, well, I say always, there seems to be one in there quite often.
How big is the
And they
area?
look, the the one that stays in the bamboo, I think he's the tall black male, which we've got different ones out here. Sometimes you just see them like in passing. Um,
Yeah,
but
but
this guy, he's pretty tall.
how many like acres of bamboo is it?
Oh, it's not like a lot of acres, no, but it's
Like a patch?
I have two different kinds, and he stays in the timber bamboo. So like that comes from my fruit trees all the way back to behind the shop. And I'd say Let me go outside and look at this. I don't want to lie to you. It's pretty wide.
I mean, I don't have to
So,
know
I
an exact
mean,
size. I was just wondering if it's like a whole
yeah,
forest of
I
it
mean,
or just like a
no, no, no.
small
But
area.
I've got a wooded property. So, like behind my greenhouse,
Mm-hmm.
it's about 10 feet back and even kind of crosses the fence. And then we have a different kind of bamboo over here. But I mean, when they crawl through there, it looks crazy. And that scared me. One day, something was crawling through the bamboo right towards me, and it scared me, you know? And I've been out here with, hogs come running out, and I'm like, oh, you know, not a big deal. And then they run off. But whatever that was, it felt like a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it at all. Right now the bamboo is all like dead. It's all yellow, and um, it's it's enough. It like
Did
to
you
stand there.
did you take any photos of the handprints by any chance?
I did, but they didn't come out very good at all. You might have noticed my pictures suck. They are terrible. In fact, all of my pictures are just blurry now. And I can see stuff on my phone, but if I send it, it's like all blurred out. Like I took a picture of a weird bug and sent it to my brother, and it was just like a smudge. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if I've messed up
Mm-hmm.
my phone or what. But yeah, I did take pictures. And what's awful is I keep getting locked out of my email accounts and then I lose my pictures. Google hates me. And I'm kind of taking it personally at this point because I've been locked out of my phones as well.
Yeah.
So
And the
I've been
creature,
losing.
yeah, the creature that you saw at the top of the driveway, could you see any eye shine?
No, I did not see any eye shine at
Okay.
all.
How big was the conical shaped head?
It didn't look like extremely over the top, like cone head, but it was definitely, pronounced. Like I could say he was like an upright walking gorilla, but he just stood straight up. I was so impressed by that. He didn't slouch at all. And I've always seen them shown as slouching and hunched over. So his shoulders were back. His head was in alignment with that. And his head, it was kind of conical, but I'm not going to say it was like a large pointy head. I have a picture I could send to you, but you probably won't be able to make anything out. Um,
Oh, okay.
and it kind of shows like a conical shape on it. And in that one, this hairy dude is looking at me through the fruit trees. And it was one night I had to come out here. And that's the thing, like when you think it's all calm and you go outside to take care of stuff and you don't feel like the heebie jeebies, sometimes, they're right there and they're so easy to overlook. They can be quiet. Um, and I thought I had some big black cats out here. Everybody said, oh, we have little black panthers, which we did have something, but it wasn't a black panther. They're, I don't know how to say it right. It's going to sound weird. Jaguarundi is what I call them, but they're, supposed to be down in Texas and believed to be endangered or extinct, but we have them as far north as Tulsa. And we had some of those out here. And that's what everybody was calling little short panthers. But when you come out here at night and you have a fire, these things run by you. They are low to the ground and they're fast. And I really thought it was just like some black cats. That's what I had been told. But I don't think it is after what I've been seeing and experiencing out here after what was on my roof. I think that's whatever these things are. And they're
Yeah.
not
Yeah, very well could be.
cats.
Sounds like you got a lot of
Like,
different activity. I would say a majority of it is Bigfoot activity, but you also have some other strange creatures, whether they're
Yeah.
cryptids or just unknown animals.
Well, and what I'm looking at is a lot of people that talk about, the UFO or abduction experience stuff, they talk about how, they can basically present themselves however. And I'm thinking, well, maybe there's something to that. I don't know. I don't really believe in ET from outer space, you know? I do believe in advanced intelligence and um, advanced civilizations. There's plenty of evidence for that. I believe in science and technology, but I don't think that we have aliens from outer space. I'm more along the lines of something interdimensional, maybe,
Hmm.
or
Yeah,
maybe it's here right under our nose, and we are like, monkeys, basically.
yeah, pretty
But
much. Anything is
that's how
possible
I
at this
feel.
point.
Yeah. And that thing on my roof,
Hmm.
when I was looking at the picture, I was like, dang, it looks like it has a tail. I don't know what is going on, but
Yeah.
I've had some experiences that I don't know if I want to talk to you about because I already sound like I'm all over the place and crazy, and I don't even know if this is going to be usable, and I'm sorry if I just gave you a bunch of crazy all over the place that you can't use.
No, you're fine. You
I'd
did an
love
excellent
to,
job, and yeah, we'll have to talk more about the rest of the experiences. We're kind of running short on time, and I was supposed to call this
and I'm
guy
sorry
around
about that
7.
too.
Oh no, you're fine,
I
and
talk too much.
no, you're fine, and you had a lot to talk about, so I understand, and I hope it made you feel better getting this off your chest and having someone to talk to. And like I said, you can message me at any time and
Yeah,
ask me any
and
questions.
I appreciate you being so patient and nice because I know it's a lot to sit through, and I just kind of go on, and I am not very organized lately. It's hard to believe that I used to write as part of my profession because I can't get organized to save my life anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think a lot of us are like that now, and it's a crazy world we live in.
yeah. Well, if you have questions, feel free to ask, or if you want to try and redo this and get it more organized, or run on a script, I'm fine with that.
No, I
There
think
is a
it'll
lot
work.
to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I might send you some of the other stuff, and some of it will be off record because it is just if you do go out investigating, I'd feel better if I let you know some of the things that I know, just because I don't think everybody's aware
Okay.
of what else is going on out here. So,
Yeah, definitely
uh,
feel free to reach out and let me know what else
and
is
my
going on.
apologies, my apologies to the gentleman waiting in line because I didn't mean to go on and on.
No, it's all
Anyway,
right.
thank you,
I'll
Miguel.
message him and let him know. Yeah, it's no problem. And yeah, I appreciate your time and thank you for sharing your encounters and experiences here on the channel.
All right. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too,
Bye
Nikki.
bye.
Talk to you later. Bye. All right, Nikki, thank you very much for sharing your encounters and experiences with me. And it certainly sounds like you have Bigfoot activity taking place around the property, but also there's other things going on that I can't explain. I wish I had an answer for you, but just sometimes things happen in our lives that we cannot explain. And maybe there is an answer out there, but at this point in time, I just don't know why certain people experience cryptid activity and paranormal activity. I think that maybe there is an answer, and you did mention that there are other dimensions, and I think that could be an answer as to why people don't find a Bigfoot body and why they're having paranormal experiences taking place on their property. I think that's a good enough answer, and we just don't really know. And maybe in the future, we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out that there are aliens out there, the Sasquatch are interdimensional, and that paranormal activity is happening around this type of activity. But until then, I don't really know because I've had similar experiences that I just can't explain, and I often wonder, is it connected with the cryptid subject? but it didn't take place whenever I had the Bigfoot sightings. I just wonder that because I've had this strange thing happen and I've had this strange thing happen over here years ago. Is there a connection? There's two unsolved mysteries. Are they possibly connected somehow? And I often ask myself that, and there's just no answer, unfortunately. But you're not alone, Nikki, and I could feel the frustration and the concern that you had, and I know that you're kind of beside yourself with all of this, but just know that there are other people just like you that have had similar experiences, or experiences that are completely different but similar in the same sense as there's just no explanation to it. But yeah, guys, I really appreciate everyone for tuning in today. And if you guys can, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. If you guys can, purchase some merchandise, leave a thanks. And until the next one, take care and be safe, everyone.